Yes.
Okay. These two. Yeah.
So that means Zion Elul, which is still in September, will not be a meeting, not be a gathering. Is that right?
Yeah, but the week after.
The week after that,
Okay,
it
so
will
this
be
is-
into September, the 5th of September. That'll be Yud Dalet, it'll be halfway through Elul. Right.
So this is the last class of this year. Belatedly, we call this class Creation, Revelation, Redemption. We're in the redemption part now. It's coming in very strong to me that I'd like to devote at least the beginning of next year to Geula, to redemption. Today I want to reintroduce the two Mashiachs. In Aramaic, they're called the train Mashiachim. Train, not like a train, a choo-choo train, but train is Aramaic for two. I call them the twin messiahs. We're going to see, I gave out something last week, which I have more of, called Introducing Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David. And then this week I prepared the Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, because there's some sources that are in between. So it's just coming, basically the way I work is it comes together for me, and I go into something and I begin to get intuitions of how to share it, and it helps me when I picture you and I think of what it's like to sit here, and so that's the process that allows me to produce these things. This is taken from my book. It's called Dedicated to Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David. And there's a chapter called The Twin Messiahs. And this 4 pages was like a condensation. And I'm really glad that I was able to bring it down to 4 pages. So we have two sets of 4 pages each. Last week was the set. So today we'll start with the idea that we spoke about last week. By the way, I need more space, and that's why I want next year to be like the place for this is more space to give for Eliyahu Navi for what that is, who he is, who he was, who he is, and what he is. What the concept of Eliyahu is. Gilui Eliyahu, what's revelation of Eliyahu? What's that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai got Gilui Eliyahu, that the Ari got Gilui Eliyahu, the revelation of Elijah. It's a state of consciousness, and it's called by the code name. So we will need time to go into that. In terms of what they call the Messianic quartet, the Messianic quartet, they are a very good group. You have to hear them. And it brings in that Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David are the right and left-hand man of the Mashiach. Who is the Mashiach? And incredibly enough, it's Moshe. Moshe in the middle, with David at his right and Yosef at his left. The Gra in one place says it's like a Vav. Vav is spelled Vav, Aleph, Vav. The Aleph in the middle is an Aleph Gadol. And the Vavs, and together they constitute the Mashiach. And that's like an incredible thing. And we don't talk about that. Nobody says anything about it, but the Zohar does. So we have to do that. We have to look into that. And then who runs in front of them? Who's the front runner? Who's the one who heralds and prepares the way for this trip, these 3 that are one? Eliyahu. So we want to talk about each one of them as who they were in the Tanakh. Who is Moshe? What his development was, which we've gone into at other times, but now within the context of Geula. The famous statement in the book of Kohelet, Ma shehaya hu sheyeh, that which was is that which will be. And the initials of Ma and sheyeh and Hu is Moshe. So we have a real tradition that he who was the first Redeemer will be the final Redeemer. And yet that's so much more hidden. Mostly everybody talks about Mashiach ben David, but we also see here that there's a Mashiach ben Yosef and a David and a Moshe. So each of these four characters are very important. And where they're rooted in is in the Tanakh. We look at them in their stories of who they were, and now we then understand, and then we move forward and we understand them as principles of a process of history. They are characters who are privileged to play cosmic roles, and we are all parts of all four of them. Some of us might be more connected to one or the other. The idea is to be connected to the whole concept, the whole comprehensive idea, and that these are powerful forces that are in the world that work if we're working, and if we're not, where they work underground through Hashverosh, Haman, Nebuchadnezzar, all kinds of characters that are unbeknownst to themselves and that they really wouldn't want to be playing in God's play. They are also playing. They can't help, but unwittingly they cannot help but be part of Hashem's. But the best way is when Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David appear overground, revealed. And that's why the Gra had a battle cry for both of them, both Yosef and David, of Od Yosef Chai. Yosef is still alive. He is not dead. Yaakov thought for 22 years, I don't know if my son is alive. I can't forget him, so I know that there's something wrong here. You usually forget somebody who's passed away. I can't forget him. He must be alive, but I can't know for sure. And then when they come back and they say, and they send Sarach bat Asher, the granddaughter, and she starts singing what Shlomo made into a song. Od Yosef Chai, Od Yosef Chai. Od Yosef, Od Yosef, Od Yosef Chai. And this revived Yaakov's spirit. And when officially they came and they said, yes, Yosef, your son is alive. Like, it's a whole thing there, right? That's Od Yosef Chai is for the Mashiach level, is that Yosef, though he's underground, and it seems that the whole Mashiach ben Yosef process is dead, God forbid. No, Od Yosef Chai, Yosef is still alive. And then David Melech Yisrael Chai v'Kayam. Why would we say these two statements? Why do we have them in our tradition? It's because, God forbid, the possibility is that they might die, that the process that they represent, that they embody, might, God forbid, fail. And yet we have a promise, neither will fail. Oh, David Melech Yisrael Chai v'Kayam. David Melech Yisrael Chai v'Kayam. Okay, so that's not what we're going to talk about, but it's like a lead-in. It's a segue into what we are going to talk about. So there's more sets here for whoever came in late and doesn't know them, because I want to start on page 1 of this set, the train Mashiachin, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David.
Another one.
They're not stapled, so there is a staple somewhere, but it doesn't matter. The main thing is you have 4 pages. The concept of the train Mashiachin is connected to the idea of 2 possible scenarios of redemption. Based on the verse that we spoke about last week, Hakaton yiyeh le'elef, v'hatzair legoy atzum, ani Adonai bi'ita achishena. The least one, or the youngest one, shall become 1,000, and the smallest one, a mighty nation. I, Hashem, in its due time, will accelerate it. Be'ita, in its due time, achishena, I'll make it rush. I'll fast forward it. So, on this verse, the Talmud says, and we saw this a little bit last week, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi pointed out in the apparent contradiction, it's written with regard to when the Mashiach will come in its due time, be'ita, yet it's also written, Ani Hashem be'ita achishena, I will accelerate it. So, right, which implies before the due time. I will accelerate it before the due time. And thus the phrase appears self-contradictory. So it says, no, there's no contradiction. If they are worthy, I will accelerate it. If they are not worthy, it'll come, but it'll come in its due time. The implication is, if we're not worthy, it'll be much harder. Things will happen that we will not like happening. All kinds of things that the Chazal spoke about of the pre-Messianic times. The difficulties for each one of us. One important midrash is that a king got upset with his son. So upset with his son that he said, I'm going to throw this huge stone at you. And then when he regretted, he couldn't completely rescind his decree, but he said, I have a way that I'll break the stone up into billions of little pebbles and throw them at my son one at a time. And so these are called the Chevle Mashiach, the birth pangs, the sufferings of the Mashiach. But they're spread out over time. They're spread out over time so that by the end we're still alive. It'll be harder, but everything we go through individually and collectively is in order to train us, to build us, to make us, to tear away the false images that we have of ourselves, and to bring us into a deeper truth of who we really are as souls. So those little pebbles, don't let them take you off track. When something happens, see it within the larger context of the time that we're living in. Now, all that you've gone through in your life and in my life and in our life, each one of us, see it as part of an unfolding of something much greater, that we're part of something much greater. And then you're able to handle it. That's called emunah. That's a practical way of a visionary way of having emunah. Emunah is not just I believe that everything is for the good, but I can really feel that it's for the good, even if right now it hurts what just happened and I can't handle it, and I'm not good with what just happened. But my emunah allows me to come forth after, whether it's an hour or 2 seconds, depends on how much I work on it, and it's okay. It had to happen, and I had to be the one it happened to, and I'm fine, and I'm learning, and I'm growing. And that's what I want to do in this lifetime. And nothing can stop me. So you become a part of the Mashiach's process because you're connected into nothing can divert you. It can divert you for a while. Everyone, all of us. As we mentioned in passing last week, and it's in these pages here, the idea of the number 999 and the number 1000 are central to the Gaon of Vilna's system of mathematics, of gematria, that 999 steps that lead up to the great Aleph, to the great 1000. That's why the Aleph in between the two vowels is a great Aleph, because it's not just one, it's the 1000. Hashem is called Aluf Neurai, the champion of my youth. What is an Aluf? An Aluf is a captain or a champion, somebody who stands out, one in 1,000. He is exactly the definition of an Aleph, which is 1,000. It's the one that stands out of the 1,000. Hashem is that one, and the Mashiach is also that concept, is the 1,000. And the 999 steps that lead up to it are the 999 incremental steps of all of our lives, of history, of the meandering of history that the Gra calls Ikvot Mashiach, or the Chazal call it Ikvot Mashiach, which means literally footsteps or heels, and connects with the root of the word la'akof, to go roundabout, right? It's a roundabout process that leads, and that you can't really tell where it's going unless you have the goal in mind. And then when you get to the goal and you'll see that everything led to this, you'll see, oh my goodness, that's what the ikvot meant. It meant the roundabout steps of us going towards the goal. So we have to continually shoot to the end and come back and see our lives in the perspective of eternity. Forgive me for overdoing what I'm overdoing, but this is just me getting ready to share with you more and more where these rabbis are coming from, what their thrust of their whole teaching was. So in the Talmud it says it's a possible contradiction. It's either, if they're worthy, I'll accelerate it, but if they're not, it'll come. But it'll come in its due time. Rav Yeshua ben Levi opposed another two verses against each other. It is written, behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven. It's a verse in Daniel. The Son of Man, it was, meaning we don't actually know what it means, but we know that it's a heavenly apparition, and that something will happen coming from the Zohar says that when the Mashiach ben David comes, besides him being a human being, it'll be like an armada coming from Shemayim. It might get to the point where Earth life is taken over by dark forces. We hope not. We hope that our doing what we're doing will prevent that possible scenario. But the part of the different scenarios that our sages and prophets and together, they put together as possibly a lot of negative stuff to the point where it's almost like it's all over. And then from Shemayim comes something very powerful. It's hinted at in the book of Kings when Elisha says to the king who's fighting the armies of Aram, and the king says to Elisha, like we have nobody compared to them, they're going to completely smash us. And Elisha says, I'll open your eyes for a moment. And he saw thousands of horsemen, spiritual, angelic horsemen. It was an amazing vision. It's like it's there and then it disappears. The Tanakh doesn't talk about it again. So you have to take those type of things and say, yeah, that's what happened in the 6-Day War. That's what happened in the Yom Kippur War. That's what happens when we do what we need to do. And Hashem is with us. It's hidden completely from the eyes of mankind, but everybody knows that that's what Israel is all about. And that's what the Zohar says will happen. I call it an armada. Okay. So, in the clouds of heaven, right? Coming with the clouds of heaven. Well, elsewhere it's written, behold, your king comes to you and riding upon a donkey. That's in Zechariah. Again, no contradiction. If we are worthy, they will come. He will come with clouds of heaven and swiftly and miraculously. If not, he will come lowly, riding upon a donkey, through the seemingly natural course of historical events, through unbearable pain and suffering. Again, we don't want that scenario, but the rabbis saw that that's what it implies. That's what's implied in Be'ita Achishena. As we shall see, if they are worthy, I will accelerate it, corresponds to with the clouds of heaven, miraculous appearance of Mashiach ben David. Whereas if they are not worthy, and then in its due time, corresponds to the lowly riding upon the donkey, natural course of events, appearance of Mashiach ben Yosef. You see, what you're going to see on page 4 is a chart. We're building a way of understanding history through this very important chart here.
What you just said sounds like it's going to be either Mashiach ben Yosef or ben Yosef.
What we're going to see, the Talmud is either or. What we're going to see is that the development of this coming through the Ari, the Orach Chaim, the Ramchal, and the Gra, we're going to see that it develops into they're both happening at the same time.
Right.
And that the Talmud distinguishes them as if they could be either or, but we develop on that. And I don't know how better to say it right now. But you see in the chart, left side usually represents the natural course of events, and right side represents miraculous. So you have Mashiach ben Yosef on the left, Mashiach ben David on the right. There's words here that I won't be able to go into this time. Pekida and Zechira, two different words that are used for redemption in the prophets and in the Zohar. Pekida is Hashem recollect us, but it won't be a complete one. It'll be an opening in the sky, and there'll be a light shining, and some of us will get an amazing illumination. I compare it to something that happened in the 60s and 70s. Many of us are because of what happened in the 60s. And then it became diverted and closed over and covered over, and people went all kinds of different directions, and a few of us retained that connection that we got, that powerful connection that we got into Torah, into Shabbat, into something is happening here. But Pekida is a light that shines, and then it's hidden. In the verse, the Ramchal describes this process in this book, Ma'amar Geula, which I've translated 1/3 of. I have it. Anybody wants it, it's yours. So Ramchal says the verse that I say in Abdallah, he breaks it down. This is Al tismichi oyavti li ki nafal. Do not rejoice over me, O my enemy, for though I have fallen, I have risen. Ki yeshev b'choshech, though I have sat in darkness, Hashem orli, Hashem is my light. So the Ramchal says it's not as I translated it. It's more like I have fallen and I have risen. After I rose, I sat in darkness, and then Hashem was my light. You see, this is as a fourfold process. After the initial awakening of Kima is a magical world in this word in the system of the Gra and the Ramchal. Kima is associated all with Yosef, like it says, Kama elumati, my sheep rose up, and you're unto me in his dream, his brothers. So Kima is a special word, which says later in Isaiah, it says, Kumi Ori, rise and shine. Kumi is a very strong word of a Yosef, Mashiach ben Yosef character. Actually, it's Gematria Yosef. Kumi, 156. So the system is very integrated. There's no chance here. So that concept of that there was an awakening in the 60s for some of us, and then it was dark, and then it became frumkeit, become frum, right? Learn Torah like we tell you to learn Torah, and the spirit becomes deadened, and then just become religious. But you have to keep a flame. There's a reason that I was outside and that I came in. I didn't come in just to get folded up in the fold. I came in because I have a fire in me. Not because I wanted to become religious, but because I wanted to be close to Hashem. That's two different ways of tshuva. Tshuva is just to come back to the Jewish people, which is great. It's to come back to godliness. So you must maintain the fire inside. Yes. Anybody want to say anything? I guess I'm going to say a lot of crazy things today.
Isn't it that the Rambam talks about the two phases of the Messianic thought? The first within nature and the second part beyond nature. Isn't that kind of what the Ramchal alludes to in Pekida and Zechira as well, in a way? Is it either or?
It's more like what we saw in the Gemara, that the riding on the dove and the coming in the clouds.
Can be two phases?
Yes, they're phases. They're also all going to be seen as simultaneous. We're going to see how miracle manifests through nature. And that nature is, the natural course of history is a cover, a camouflage for powerful events. And that Yosef is the front runner and the vehicle through which David comes, right? There's all these amazing things that this whole system is developed. Like, any of you heard about it? Did anybody teach this in college? Did anybody talk about this in yeshiva? No? Well, it's interesting, right? It's held back because why is the sky blue? Because? No, there's a reason. There's a reason why it was held back. Because we have to be wanted. We have wanted. There's something more here than, right? There's something more, and we have to prepare ourselves. That there's so much more we've been shown, as the Gra says, drops of the Mashiach has started to drop into us, to awaken us. But if we're satisfied with the drops, right? If that puts our fire out, I'm satisfied. I just want to be a nice Jew. I also want to just be a nice Jew, but I also have this fire. So there's levels. Okay, if I go on too much like this, just stop me. Back to page, so you have this chart. We'll go back to the chart. What? Back to page 1. Okay, now, the Talmud now records another related dispute concerning the two possible scenarios of redemption. What I'm giving you is a background to what's going to come later as the more developed concept of Mashiach ben Mashiach ben David, and how we work with them and see them not as contradictory, because the Talmud is already preparing the way for that, but not going all the way. The Talmud says, if Israel return in tshuva willingly in their own free will, they will be redeemed. If they do not return willingly, they will not be redeemed. Rabbi Yeshua argued, if they do not return in tshuva willingly and of their own free will, they will not be redeemed? How can you say such a thing? Rather, to ensure that they will be redeemed, the Holy One, blessed be He, will raise up a king. Somebody mentioned that before. Yeah, sure. Will raise up a king whose decrees are as harsh as Haman's. Such they will surely return in tshuva, and He will thereby bring them back to the correct path. So Rabbi Yeshua has a very powerful argument against Rabbi Eliezer. The same conversation continued to the two rabbis. Rabbi Eliezer, if Israel return in tshuva, again, I add, willingly and of their own free will, because it's implied, they will be redeemed. If they do not, they will not be redeemed. It is thus written, return you backsliding runs, and I will heal your backsliding. I.e., if they repent, He will heal them. If not, He won't. Rabbi Yeshua argued, but it's written elsewhere, you were sold into exile for nothing, and without money you shall be redeemed. The first clause, you were sold for nothing, alludes to the fact that Israel were exiled because they worshipped idols which were worth nothing. The second clause, and without money you shall be redeemed, indicates that they will be redeemed even without tshuva or good deeds. Rabbi Eliezer answered, but it's written, return to me and I will return to you. It's a condition. This seems to indicate that Israel must first willingly return to Hashem, and only then will Hashem return to them, redeem them. Rabbi Yeshua argued, but again, it's written elsewhere, for at that time I will reveal myself as your master, and I will take you, one from a city and two from a family. I will bring you to Zion. And there's no condition here of you must return. It's a verse that stands on its own without any preconditions. This indicates that Hashem will bring the redemption even if they have not returned of their own accord. Rather, Hashem will force them to return by subjecting them to terrible calamities. In the end, He will bring the remnant back. So, okay, that's just my addition, but it's not conditional on tshuva is the main thing. And the conversation, as it now winds down, is Rabbi Eliezer comes back. It's written, if you return Israel, to me you shall return. The word if you return Israel, the word if seems to imply that it's questionable whether they will return of their own accord. Rabbi Yeshua argued, but it's written, I heard the man clothed in linen, the angel Gabriel. He lifted his right hand and his left hand heavenward, and he swore by the life of the world that in a times and a half a time, when the power of the people will have ceased, when Israel will no longer be able to maintain its identity in exile, these troubles will cease. So Yeshua is bringing a very powerful verse from Daniel. By making this time dependent in a time, times, and half a time, Rabbi Yeshua refutes Rabbi Eliezer's claim that there is no fixed time for the redemption, and that it is solely contingent upon Israel's return to Hashem. Rabbi Eliezer was silent. He acquiesces that the redemption is not conditioned on Israel's free will return to Hashem. It's going to happen. Again, then how it's going to happen depends on us. But it's a cosmological imperative, according to this type of learning, which leaves a lot unsaid. More, as always, leaves a lot unsaid. It leaves you unsatisfied. You have to go back and do it again and again and again until it says, it starts to speak to you. It's the first interactive text ever devised in history, where the more you learn it, the more you think about it, the more you dwell upon it, the more it begins to reveal itself to you. Rav Sadia Gaon and Rav Hai Gaon, I just didn't have the place on the paper, but Rav Sadia Gaon and Rav Hai Gaon both write about the two possible scenarios. So again, so we've seen here that the Talmud separates them into two possible scenarios, if you're worthy and if you're not worthy. And if you're worthy, it'll come miraculously and it'll come swiftly. And if you're not worthy, it'll come, but it'll come in its due time at the last second, and it'll be very hard, and it'll be excruciating, God forbid. And so that's why these teachings were given to us, to help us to know that whatever happens, what may come, that it is something that cannot not happen. Rav Sadia Gaon, we believe that Hashem has established two possible types of ends to our exile. One through tshuva, and the other a fixed time beyond which the concealment of his providence will not extend. Actually, Hashem will return to Israel in both instances, and he goes on. I don't want to read the whole thing. It's basically a repeat of what, the beginning is a repeat of what we've just seen. He does introduce here Mashiach ben Yosef, though. He says that a king will rise up whose decrees are as harsh as Haman's, and then there obviously have to be tshuva. We don't want that to have to happen. We don't want to be stiff-necked and hard-hearted. We want our hearts to melt and to know that there's a spiritual reality behind. We don't want to have it proven to us. Rosh Hashanah, we say our prayers, Eloheinu v'Eloheinu, Eloheinu, as it says, Galei kivod malchutecha aleinu b'mhira b'yameinu. Reveal the glory of your malchut, of your sovereignty to us soon and in our days. Part the veil. Show us that you've been there the whole time. Our prayer is that you should reveal yourself to us. We say in our prayers in Rosh Hashanah, Uvechen Yitkadesh Shemcha Hashem Elokeinu Al Yisrael Amecha. Hashem, may your name be sanctified over and also through Al Yedei, through your people Israel. Give us a chance to make a difference. Give us a chance to be your people and to allow your light to come into the world. If not, Uvechen ten Adonai Eloheinu al kol ma'asecha ve'ematcha al kol ma shebarata v'yiraucha al kol ha'ma'asim v'yishtachavu lecha b'nei kol ha'bruim. If it's not done willingly, then shake us up, make the earth shake, scare the hell out of them, so their klipa, their ego is broken, and they are willing to admit that they are no longer in power. They want power. They want to control. Whoever the forces are. So Hashem, one way or the other, give us a chance to make a difference. This whole series of events will be brought about through a descendant of Yosef. This is one of the first introductions of Yosef in our tradition, after the Talmud. He's spoken about once in the Talmud, in Sukkah. So he says, a descendant of Yosef who will rise up in the mountains of the Galilee. Remnants of the nation will gather round him, and he will turn his face to rebuilding the holy temple after the children of Esau have taken it over. And who have they taken it over from? From Yishmael. Interesting. It doesn't have to happen. It's only a possible scenario, but you see hints here of interesting possibilities. He will actually take hold of it, the Temple Mount, for a short time, but a man by the name of Armilos, otherwise known as Gog, the spiritual leader of Magog, will battle against Yosef. Armilos will fight them. He will fight Mashiach ben Yosef and his men. Eventually, Armilos will conquer the city, killing, capturing, and destroying. The man from the seed of Yosef will be among those killed. The nation will suffer tremendous anguish, the most typical of all being the deterioration of all relations between themselves and all other governments. Rav Meir Kahana was right into this here. He wanted that to happen. He wanted the deterioration to happen in order for the Am Yisrael, the Klal Yisrael, to break through their own klipa and to understand that we only have Hashem. I don't necessarily agree. I'm just saying that he wrote a pamphlet came out just before he passed away, or just after he passed away, of the things that he was teaching before he passed away. This is what he was teaching. Eventually, the Jews, will be banished to the deserts where they will starve and suffer affliction. Again, it's a scenario. It's a received tradition. As a result of all they will endure, many of them will abandon their faith in God. A purified remnant will survive, however, and to them Eliyahu will reveal himself to herald the final salvation. Interesting an interesting scenario, very negative, very difficult, at the end of which is the Eliyahu, and then Mashiach ben David, and Mashiach ben David then resurrects Yosef as the first of his miracles. He does everything else, and together there's different scenarios. Scenarios is the perfect word for all this, because they're possible. They're not absolutes. And then there could be mixtures of scenarios. It all depends on our consciousness. In a sense, it's not time-bound. Tshuva means that we become aware of something greater in our lives. It's not a religious concept as much as a psycho-spiritual. Each one of us has to go through, and then we need our friends' help. We need teachings to give us a direction, like what's going on here, what's happening inside of me. Yes, it involves praying and learning and doing mitzvot, but it's the most natural thing in the world, because we want to break through whatever has held us back until now from leading a godly life. But it's not religiosity per se. It's a transformation of human consciousness. So tshuva, even the word itself means return, is not a return to a set system as much as a return to a livingness that's at the core of the set system. And the set system, the mitzvot that I do, are a vehicle for the livingness within me to be able to manifest in the world in a proper way. I need a halachic system, but the livingness that's in there, that's inside of us, it's what's being called for. Then the big thing is, will Mashiach ben Yosef die or not? Will he die or not? What's going on here? We have this tradition that he's going to be killed, and it's going to be like really bad, which again is a quote from the Gemara in Sukkah 51b and 52a. That's his source. So this is basically what I wanted to get to, and I can stop here to try and get our wits about us and to orientate ourselves and open it up for questioning and for discussion. But that's the question that we'll continue with.
This is received like you would say Kabbalah is receiving, this is received from teacher to student, because this is not all in Sanhedrin, what Rav Chai Gaon is talking about.
No, it's not all in one place. And what I have in my book, and the chapter called The Twin Messiahs, is I bring Rav Chai Gaon, who develops it much more and brings verses for each one. And he develops it much more. And And so it's a way of putting together. If you learn the Tanakh, you learn the Nevi'im, you learn them over and over again. In other words, you learn them and you start to say, oh my goodness, that each one was giving a part of a bigger story. And underneath all of them is this master story. And the reason that there are different possibilities and scenarios is because it doesn't depend on time or space. It doesn't depend where you are or when you are. It depends on who you are. In other words, what you do in relation to this wisdom that's been given to us. You determine history. You make your own life. Israel, you determine how this is going to unfold. If you continually fall into a lower state where you fall into the fragmentation, the fracturing of the Klal Yisrael, of the totality of Israel, so then you're losing out on the essence of why we're here and what we're doing.
Could it be both at the same time? We'll be at the lowest level that we can be, which is clearly now, and on the other hand, we could be very high in other ways, whether it's ways that we're helping each other out. Like there's certain aspects that is greater than it's ever going to be. It's got to be one extreme or the other.
Beautiful. No, Daniel, you're right on. This is all the extremes become completely merged, and how we unfold is through this powerful dynamic that's unfolding here, that's pressing us on one side with negativity and making us more positive and bringing us into more of a higher level of understanding of things than we could have had if we didn't have these two rocks squishing us. And it's put olive oil on yourself, and when the two rocks come together, you just go up, right? Olive oil, right? Olive oil. Two rocks coming together, you're in the middle, you just slip out up. In other words, these polarities of our lives are simultaneous. So it's exactly where I want to go.
When we see in the prophets, it says that princes will ascend Har Seir to go ahead and give us
to Mashiach.
And then at the same time, we see that it will take a piece of wood from the side of Ephraim.
That's here also, right?
So we shouldn't only see it as a cosmic shifting in energy. We should also see it on the shot level, like it takes three to establish a court, and maybe these three, Moshe and the two Mashiachs, actually come together in our physical people, as well as a cosmic energy.
No, of course. Everything. This is happening at a lot of different on all different levels, and I'm taking it at a certain one, but I'm included in my words and how I understand it is this is happening right down here
On the shot level as well.
Shot level also. Exactly how so? Because we're not sure. Even the Rambam said we don't know how this will unfold. Anybody who says he thinks he knows, that's why you have to take it up here and just get the ideas first, and then integrate them and allow them to live inside of you. And then as the events unfold, you'll say, okay, I see, it's happening. There's no way to predict exactly how it's going to happen, but the ideas, the archetypal level is there. And it just has to come, it just has to slide in as events unfold. Driving everybody, just...
Me'alef is the only word I can say. Me'alef.
I bless all of us to the olives. To touch your olive, your inside olive, to get the power of that. I saw something in a book called Atom Splitting is equivalent in physics, is equivalent to ego splitting. When you split an atom, an incredible amount of energy is released that's been held back. But ego splitting is the ego wants control. It wants control over the personality and wants to know, right? And it wants to. Ego splitting releases unbelievable power that's there inside each one of us. Is godly energy, and I'm just saw that today for the 15th time, but it's finally said to me, take me seriously. It's a beautiful analogy, physics and inner work. The splitting of the atom, the splitting of the ego, the powerful energy that's been held back. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but this is inside of us in the way we daven, in the way we live our lives. Let it be a positive revelation of of inner livingness, as we call it, beingness, the core that's going to flow out into all the aspects of our lives and interact with each other in really good, positive ways. You wanted to say something?
Keep in there all these things we hear about Og and Magog. I mean, how much more, like crusades, drums, the whole Nazi story, the persecution of Jews in North Africa, the thing with the Jews in Russia. The basic daily suffering that Jewish people go to stand for Shabbos table and get murdered. I mean, much more of that we need to shake order. Send sheep over there, do something.
Yeah. So the question is right on, Celia, and it deserves a good answer. And as I've said other times, because I know you're asking from the same place, and I respect and honor that place, if there's so much suffering, enough already. So a modus operandi, a way of dealing with it, is that there's a heavenly spiritual reality, physical earthly reality. And we're living within this one down here. And for us, death and dying and the suffering that we have down here are hard. Unless you have a greater context within which to make sense of that. I agree with you. I concur with you. There's no answer to the Holocaust. There's no answer to the death of 3 people sitting at their Shabbos table celebrating the birth of a grandchild on Friday night. There's no answer. It's only crying and feeling. and a sense of what's it all about. But from that greater perspective, this is a matrix. This is a important movie that all of us are in. Bless you. And this is a reality that has to be overcome through consciousness of godliness, to penetrate and to unwrap it from its present reality that closes over and covers over and shrouds over the spiritual reality of God, and reveals that God is here and that this reality is only a partial reality. It's not all that I would like to say, but it's a matter of perspective that we have to have 2 perspectives. So forgive me for not even going there.
Reb Avraham, something I find, to put it mildly concerning, there's no word to say it, is that what I just read in the second half of this paragraph here is, according to one scenario, yet to come. This has not yet happened. Notwithstanding all the trials and tribulations, suffering. That banishing us to the desert and that someone's going to take over, someone's going to take over.
It doesn't have to happen.
It doesn't have to happen.
Right.
But it could happen.
Or it could have already happened.
But that's what I'm saying. That doesn't sound like something that's already happened.
Okay.
I don't recognize
Unless
something.
it's symbolic of something.
Has it happened or has it not happened?
And if it hasn't
All
happened,
open. All open.
okay.
If we will it, then it's already happened, and everything we've gone through is enough. Again, it's just, what does it mean to spiritually awaken? What is the Jewish definition of spiritual awakening? That's the series that I have of my first 4 books, Reawakening Spiritual Awareness. The idea being that we were once awake, and that's we just reawaken. Okay, let's go on, because I don't have a definitive answer whether it has happened or it is going to happen. May it be that it does not have to happen. The part of the proof of the pudding is that we are, although we have some tragic things that have happened to us, but compared to what's going on in Syria and in Lebanon and in all these other places, we are an oasis. We're protected by a cloud of angelic light. This is what Nir Ben Artzi says, and I happen to agree with him. Nir Ben Artzi is a very interesting man. I don't know if you've never heard of him. He speaks in Hebrew, but his Torahs are translated and put out in English. Write me and I can tell you exactly how to access them.
What do you say in general?
That if we have to appreciate how what's going on all around us is change the entire geopolitical map within 5 years. This could never have been foreseen. But what it's done is it's brought us, and we're tremendously protected. We're literally protected. Russia, Hezbollah, all of them, they can't touch us. If we only recognize it, then it's even more powerful. But if we don't, if we go on as if we're doing it, then we're not recognizing the divine hand behind this. It's a tremendous ingratitude, a tremendous, right? It doesn't go well with God, that you only think that you're the one who's doing it. No, that's, okay. What interests us now is a change took place in this ancient tradition that Mashiach and Yosef will be slain in battle. A change took place. The question is why, when, and how? When we look in the Zohar, we already see the possibility of an alternate scenario. We find in Zohar, in 2 places in the Zohar, and in 1 place in Tikkunei Zohar, that Mashiach ben Yosef will not die. Mashiach ben Yosef will not die. We will see shortly that this is seconded by the Ramchal and the Gra. In the meantime, to make things more mysterious, we find the following significant teaching from the Ari in Pri-Etz Chaim, Shar Ha'amidah, Birkat Tishkon, right? There's a bracha in the Sephardi, in the Safas, Tishkon b'toch Yerushalayim Yircha, dwell in Yerushalayim, your city. In the Ashkenaz Nusach, it's Yerushalayim Yircha. I don't know the Nusach. Everybody who says the Amidah, Tishkon, Tashuv, Yerushalayim Yircha Tashuv. Okay, it's not easy when you're not in the davening mode. But in the Sephardi, when it's Tishkon b'toch Yerushalayim Yircha b'chisei David Abdecha Mehera b'tocha tachin, dwell, come back to dwell in Yerushalayim, your city. Tishkon b'toch Yerushalayim Yircha b'chisei David, and the throne of David. Interesting. Right? In the throne, b'chisei David Abdecha, the throne of David, your servant. B'chisei David Abdecha Mehera b'tocha tachin. Soon, in the midst of Jerusalem, establish the throne of David. Okay, so the Ari taught Reb Chaim Vital that this was, you know what this is about? Reb Chaim Vital was told by his master to pray Mashiach ben Yosef should not die. So the Zohar says he won't die. The Ramchal and the Gra second it. In the middle is the Ari who says we have to daven that he shouldn't die. There's just different. Everything has to be taken into account. He won't die. He will die. Daven that he won't die. That's all we have so far on the plate. Quote, the Ari teaching through Reb Chaim Vital, whenever we mention in our prayers, and speedily reestablish the throne of David, your servant, in its midst, in the midst of Jerusalem. We're pleading not for David, we're pleading for the throne of David. What's going on back there? You need water? You got it, okay. Yosef is called the throne of David, in the sense that Yosef prepares the way for David. We must plead that Mashiach ben Yosef not die by the hand of Armilos the wicked. For Mashiach ben Yosef is called the throne of David, your servant, because as we have seen, he prepares the way for Mashiach ben David. This was King David's intention when he prayed for Mashiach ben Yosef's life to be spared. Life I have asked from you. You have given it. Length of days forever and ever. Psalm 21, verse 5. Life I have asked from you. The Maharsha says that David was asking for life for himself. The Ari, this all is true. It's of course Mashiach ben David is asking for life because we said David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam. There's a danger that he also will die. That he lives. But the Gra and the Ari and the Gra both say, life I have asked from you. I have asked that Mashiach ben Yosef shall not die. Because that is more delicate. That, if that's aborted, if that doesn't work, if that dies, quote unquote, then we're in real trouble. Mashiach ben David will come. But the Mashiach ben Yosef process is our part in the bargain, is our awakening through the 999 incremental steps of history to see God in your life and in my life. That's very important that we have a part in this. I don't know how to better express it at the moment. Yeah.
I was just thinking that's interesting that David now is
For Yosef.
Yosef, like how Adam prayed for David.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So like in a way it seems like it's like he has the appreciation of the gift of life.
Yes.
And that Adam was willing to give up something, because it's also maybe in a way David's giving up something to share the role of Mashiach with someone else. Like it's
interesting.
It seems a really selfless thing to do. That he's sharing the Malchus, which might also be a tikkun for the sun and the moon.
You
Beautiful.
would have sold Yosef.
And Shaul and David and all kinds of things. Which what Chayasar just said is very beautiful. Is that Mashiach ben David davening for Mashiach ben Yosef, or David davening for Mashiach ben Yosef, is a very beautiful, selfless thing to do. Similar to the fact that Adam Arishon gave part of his life to David HaMelech when he saw that David would be a Nephil, would be a stillborn. He gave 70 years of his life, and therefore Adam lived only 930 years instead of the Aleph. Right? And so also when Mashiach ben David davens for Yosef, so that's a very special thing.
Yehuda didn't recognize Yosef, sold him.
So these things are all part of this bigger story. Yehuda and Yosef, Shaul and David. It's fantastic stuff. Yes, Leah.
How can we see this on the level of Yehuda representing the side of Torah wisdom, the wisdom of above, and Yosef representing the king of Egypt, the wisdom of below, and the idea of the death of Yosef, or the death of science and technology in a way.
So again, these two books here, Ma'amar Geula of the Ramchal and Kol HaTorah of the cousin and student of 17 years of Rav Hillel Rivlin. This is the new version of Kol HaTorah, put out recently by Shalom Brown of Beitar. He doesn't put his name on it. He calls it Mishmeres Shalom. He sells it by you writing to him to Mishmeres, Kol HaTorah 747 at gmail.com. KOLHATOR 747 at gmail.com. Mishmeres Shalom. It's a book of 7 chapters that precedes, and then it will call itself 7 chapters.
In English.
English, at the back is the Hebrew. After the notes is the, wherever, it's here somewhere. No, where? So that's where a lot of this is talked about.
More.
This is a difficult book, I have to admit it. It takes quite a bit to really follow him. God bless him. He did a fantastic job. But he goes and he gives you the insights into the system of the Gra and where he's coming from. He really did a fantastic thing here. So these are brought together. I just put out a little book called the Ben Yosef Mashiach ben David, in which I bring a lot about Yehuda and what he did and the difference between him and Yosef in different ways of, right? And what Yehuda is nowadays is part of Am Yisrael. Who are the Yosef people? Who are the Yehuda people? It's a whole theory that it's beautiful, and it's beyond any one person can figure out, but we all want to be this. I'll go on a little bit.
I just had another thought about Yehuda being the Baal Tshuva and Yosef being the Tzaddik. So it goes with hand in hand with it about it coming early, where the Tzaddik and it'll come like Yehuda, like the Baal Tshuva, it'll still come. And it's kind of it's they represent the 2 different ways that. The 2 different modalities. It's paradoxical, because there's Tshuva of Yehuda, but Yehuda is Mashiach ben David, and he's miraculous. And according to Rabbi Yoshua, he's saying, it could be that because he goes with Rabbi Eliezer that whatever. So you can have somewhere in that dialogue that they make friends. And
yes.
I think I learned it from you that they they each gain something from the other in that interaction, so they become shalem. They're not so polarized.
They're totally interactive with each other. They sometimes may seem, as the Gra himself says here, they sometimes may seem to be at cross purposes, but they're totally complementary to each other when you have the proper view. It's fascinating. I am not really other than just this excited kid with all this stuff. I'm not a college professor. I don't have it down pat. I kind of live it, so you don't get a nice, quiet presentation of it that's intellectual and academic. Okay, so here we go. So after top of page 3, after a masterful discourse on the concept of the trained Mashiachim, the Rav Chaim ben Attar also repeats the Ari's admonition, and the Gedol, the great masters of Israel, have instructed us to plead mercy for Mashiach ben Ephraim, it's another word for Yosef, that he not be killed in battle. And then he goes on with the whole thing that I didn't bring here. The dynamic is not a simple one. On the one hand, it seems that Mashiach ben Yosef is bound to a slow natural process in which the hand of divine providence is largely hidden, lowly and riding on a donkey. Donkey is more, it's physicality. There's a piece in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, probably, I'm not sure where some of the rabbis say, Aiti delachmine. See it. I don't want to be there to see it. It's going to be too hard. What do you mean? What's going on? What do you mean I want to see it? It's going to be amazing. The generation leading up to it, the time leading up to it will be so hard because nobody will know what's going on, and there won't be anybody who can enlighten us as to what is going on. And that's what's going to make it hard. Like Nachman's last Torah in Tinyana Zayin is that what's really most painful to us is not that we suffer, is that we don't know why. We don't understand why Hashem and intellectual reasons are not enough. It's because we don't understand. If we only understood, we'd go with you, we'd be with you all the way. Why do you keep us in the dark? So similarly here, let him come, but I don't want to be there. Reb Yosef says, I want him to come, and I'm willing to sit in the shadow of the dung of his donkey. Shadow of the dung of his donkey, but let him come. What is the donkey? What is the physicality? Whatever. I don't know. We don't know what it means, but it's something like it's going to be very hidden. But those of us who want to see and who are willing to walk the mile, we can see it happening in front of us. As I've told you about the 2 levels, the new level of the new art that I wanted to make. Somebody's going to do this. Going to make dark clouds, and behind it is bright blue sky. And this one is going to be, again, another variation. It's going to be lightning and dark and no good, and this behind is light. And one is a graph going down, and the one in the back is... And even though everything seems to be falling apart, but everything is actually coming together. Like, hello, and you're like, what? And this famous Chabad that the crown of the king is almost perfected. It's just a little bit of a cleaning off of the last few jewels. The crown has already been made. All that the tzaddikim and all of our people, our ancestors, did for thousands of years, every time they blessed the moon, on the inside level, the moon has been fixed. On the outside, it still seems that it wanes and waxes. But on the inside, on the panemius, it's called the panemiut, everything has been done. All the work has been done. What's left for us is 0.001% of the work. It doesn't do anything on the outside. It seems like they left all the hard work for us. It has to seem like that. But they did it. Trust them that they did it. And that what they left us with is the external of the external of the external. And when we get our internal together, that external gets fixed.
When you were talking about the going through it and understanding this whole process, that jumped into my head, לכתך אחריי במדבר בדרך לא זרועה. We have it in ourselves because in the desert we followed Hashem, and we didn't know what we were going into or what we were going to come to, except for at the end, Eretz Israel. That was the end. So we're in a way doing the same thing, but not really seeing it. Not very clear to see it, but it's
Beautiful, beautiful. We went after Hashem in the desert, and we're doing the same thing.
So you'll remember that. Remember that. In our school.
See, we don't see ourselves walking along the beach. Somebody does. We don't see what progress we've made. We don't understand. Therefore, we give up and we get down everything. We don't see that things are happening on a heavenly level that are bringing everything to its conclusion. Every account that is made in Shemayim is being cleaned. Those who are still successful in doing evil, those who are still successful in fooling, will be revealed, will be exposed. That's the process that's going on now. Not only me that's saying this. Those who are still lying, who are manipulating, who are hiding behind clothes and making themselves like they're good, but are really evil, they will be exposed. And it'll be very hard. So those of us who are transparent, who are real, who know that we're vulnerable, who are not perfect, we don't claim to be perfect. We know that we're not perfect. We just want to grow. We just want to be. We don't want to be excellent. We want to be perfect. We just want to be who we are and do it the best we can. That's the call of the hour. And the light that's coming down will expose, God willing, all the falsehood and uncover it. Because it's an insidious force that's working behind the scenes. There are many examples of this. I don't want to go into it now. What do you want to say?
I just wanted to say that it seemed like a difference between the Jewish people now and the Jewish people in the desert was that we were attacked from outside by a Moloch. And now it seems like a Moloch is within the Jewish people, and that we don't need to fast and read Eicha because Tisha B'Av is everyday. Child sacrifice is alive in the Jewish world today. And we don't need to open a Haggadah to read how the Egyptians put Jewish children between bricks, because there are children who bury their face in the pillows behind their bedroom doors and stifle their cries and know that they will be abused by babies in the morning. So I'm saying that it seems like awareness has to be real, and the pain of the awareness that we are our own worst enemy until we expose and reveal the evil within us. And as long as we keep saying it's out there, and we're protected from out there, then if the wolf is in sheep's clothing inside the door, not outside the door, we're more vulnerable than ever.
Okay, gotcha. There's no question that when I've been told by certain people about how bad things are and what rotten things are being done behind closed doors, there's no question my heart is broken. I want to do something about it. I want to tear people apart. I want to expose evil for what it is and where it is and wherever it is. And that's what our reaction is natural to be, is to save children who are being abused and to expose people who are the abusers. We don't understand this. And we have for the good. And it has to do with the way Hashem runs history. These are big questions. I'm not sitting here and telling you that I can tell you why there was a Holocaust and why there's a virtual Holocaust going on now. I can only tell you that I think it's coming to a head, that I'm praying that it's coming to a head, that I'm praying that all of us are here because something is going on that's going to flip the situation and expose the evil and reveal the good. So I'm with you. Okay, you have. What's good about this is you have it in writing. There's more where this comes from. I am a writer, and therefore, for me, it makes it easier to work off a text that's here and share it with you, and then you have it to take home. But we've spoken about it. It's been made alive. So this is for me, for who I am and where I'm in my life right now. It's the best combination, the best that I can do, which is to share what I've written and to bring it off the page and to make it real. And then when you have it on the page again, it can still be real because you've heard from the person who's written it. What's behind what's going on? I'm trying to make sense of things, taking these ancient traditions and working with what's been given to us by these masters. And when I say Ramchal and Gra are masters, and Ari is a master, they and the Baal Shem Tov and all those whom we love, and that their neshamas are there, and we're part of the neshamas, and they are Mashiach neshamas. Part of the text that wasn't written down here in English was that when the Ari told Reb Chaim Vital, pray that Mashiach ben Yosef should die, is a few days later the Ari died. And Reb Chaim Vital laments and says, oh my God, if I only would have known this is what he meant. He knew his life was in danger. So all the Mashiach ben Yosefs who have died, right? Because they tried to bring the Messianic process closer to its fulfillment. They gave their lives up for us. So we owe it to them to recognize their greatness and to work with them now that they're upstairs and to be their agents down here. And agents, not as it's used in the Matrix, but we are agents for good. And if we were unconscious agents until now, let's become conscious and accept the responsibility that's been given to us to become servants of Hashem. So this
by the way, the Ari's Yortzeit is this Friday.
is the 5th of Av. And the 5th of Av is the Ari's Yortzeit.
This Friday.
Today is Beit Av, and Friday is Hey Av. And I remember being in Sfat for one Hey Av.
Ari also revealed the identity of Mashiach ben David of his generation. So Chaim Vital and Yisrael Strug as Eliakim ben Shmuel. There's a whole story about it, how people found out it was take life and that he wasn't being able to.
Wow! So he's saying that the Ari revealed the Mashiach ben David of his generation, and what's his name? Shmuel.
Eliakim ben Shmuel.
Eliakim ben Shmuel. Well, I've never heard this story. Liad is telling us that as a result of it being leaked out at the wrong time, this Eliakim ben Shmuel went up and was not the Mashiach ben David that we would have wanted. In other words, there's a potential in every generation. How it works is okay. It's not something I can deal with right now. What I wanted to share with you today is one more thing. Two more things that are right here on the page. Now we're touching on the Gra. On page 3, so we read here that as everybody, I think, is beginning to understand, there's a paragraph that starts thus, although the idea of the trained Mashiach seems to imply that there are two distinct modes or periods for each, this must be qualified. In truth, there is much overlapping between the two. The Ben David mode is always present in the immediate background of the Ben Yosef mode. I call them like the hand in the glove. The hand is there, all you see is the glove. As we said before, the throne is revealed, and the David it's making the throne, right? The throne of David is Yosef. The two modes are always present in one another. In the Mashiach ben Yosef aspect, and there's a Mashiach ben David aspect is Yosef. It's a system where There's a right left of side of there's a right of left and there's a left of right. It's a concept in the Talmud called Shtaim Shem Arba, 2 that are 4. It starts out Masechtet Shabbat, Shnaim Shem Arba Shnei. There's 2 ways of there's 2 actions that are called taking out from one domain to the public domain, and there's 2 ways of bringing from the public domain. So there's 2 that are 4. It's a mathematical concept that the Gra then took and showed that it's everywhere throughout the Torah, that everything, the tree of life has a tree of knowledge aspect, and the tree of knowledge has a tree of life aspect. Male has female, female has male. Dark has light, light has dark. Day has night, night has day. It's a system where always it's going to be that in the actual opposite is another aspect of the opposite. So, thus Rabbi Hillel Rivlin, the author of Kol HaTorah, writes in the name of his master, the Gra, quote, Mashiach ben Yosef is the supernatural force that aids every activity which is aroused from below through the natural process, the historical events that seem to unfold in a natural manner. In this sense, Mashiach ben Yosef is that aspect of redemption that manifests from the earth, from below, while Mashiach ben David is that aspect that manifests from the heavens, from above. In another sense, Mashiach ben Yosef himself contains both these manifestations. As the son of Rachel, he manifests from the earth. As the son of Yaakov, he manifests from the heavens. So you see, it becomes a flowing of ideas one into the other, where we begin to see it's not one or the other. Once we get that, then we start to understand how all of these tzaddikim, their Torahs all flowed out from this understanding of reality. Always Shtaim Shem Arba, that within every darkness is a light, within every light is a darkness. When we'll get to the chart on page 4 in a second, I'll show you just one more way to how it manifests. In another place, Rav Hillel writes, on the macrocosmic millennial level of redemption, the first Mashiach is Mashiach ben Yosef, and the completer is David. The same is true on the microcosmic level regarding every individual act. Every action undertaken stages of the itchalta. Itchalta is an Aramaic phrase, itchalta de geula, the beginning of the redemption, the unfolding of the beginning stages. So all the stages of the itchalta process that is initially via natural effort in incremental stages. All of these are key words. Itchalta, that is initially aroused from below via natural effort in incremental stages. According to the principle, the great principle of our master, divinely directed first through the agency of Yosef and completed through the agency of David. So macrocosm, microcosm, on a smaller scale, the two generational messiahs, each generation are the supernatural forces that maintain Israel's existence, strengthening them throughout their entire exile and miraculously assisting them, especially during the ikvot Mashiach, the footsteps, the heels, the lowest part of the body. Mashiach ben Yosef is the miraculous force that supports and strengthens Israel's material existence. David is the miraculous force that supports the spiritual existence. As explained in the writings of our master, the functions of the two generational messiahs have different overlapping aspects. And he goes on. It's just interesting to read how they formulated this, and then to take it off the page and to think about it and to make it yours. That you have a right and a left and a middle. That you have these aspects within you. They are part and parcel of creation. The names David and Yosef are switched a million times in the Tanakh. But once you get the idea, which is what the chart is about, then you know that whenever you see one, you see all of them. Top of page 4. Any way they are seen, the trained Mashiachim are flip sides of the same coin. on the larger millennial scale or on the smaller generational scale, although one may precede the other chronologically, in the end, both of the Messianic energies are united together by a power that is even greater than both. And this is where we come to Ezekiel. And Hashem's word came to me, saying, Son of man, Ben Adam, take one branch and write upon it for Yehuda, the source of the Davidic line. In many translations, you'll see take one stick, but it's just a wrong. It's a branch. It's not a stick. Then take another branch and write upon it for Yosef, the branch of Ephraim. Join them together into one, I should say, branch. And they shall become one in your hand, and they shall become one in my hand. In other words, the idea here of the work from below is that the prophet has to do the action down here in the physical world, which is called the awakening from below, the arousal from below. And then Hashem says, I will now do it from above. I will complete it. It's a very important Torah concept. You do 6 days and Shabbat comes in. We do the 6 days, Hashem brings in the Shabbat. We count the 49 days of the Omer, Hashem brings in the Shavuot. There's a relationship here. Hashem says, you shall circumcise the foreskin of your hearts. And then it says, Hashem will circumcise the foreskin of your hearts. Right? Always the completer is the spiritual. So here you have the idea, and Rav Hillel writes in Kol Torah about this idea that we just saw in Ezekiel. Etz Yosef, the branch of Yosef, this refers to Mashiach and Yosef. The entire redemption depends on the unification of the two branches, the Etz Yosef and the Etz Yehuda. They are the trained Mashiachim, the Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David, who will initially become one in your hand, i.e. through the natural path of arousal from below. Afterwards, they shall become one in my hand, Hashem's hand, through the supernatural path of riding upon the clouds of heaven. So you see a system emerging. You see the left side is arousal from below. The glove on the right hand is Hashem's hand. On the left side, shake the dust of exile off, rise up. The second part of the verse is untie the bands around your neck. These are verses from Isaiah. Rise and shine, for your light has come. Hashem's glory has dawned upon you. He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his Mashiach. He shall bore nations to the ends of the earth. I will cause David's horn to spring forth. He gives great deliverance to his king. He shows kindness to his Mashiach, to David. In your strength the king rejoices. He greatly exalts in your deliverance. For a tiny moment I've forsaken you. With great mercies I shall gather you. His left hand is under my head. His right hand embraces me. In his due time I'll accelerate it. Tshuva in the face of calamity. Tshuva willingly. If they are not worthy, if they are worthy. Lowly, riding upon a donkey, natural course of events, with the clouds of heaven, miracles. And the rest, where you see a system emerging, that's the main thing to take from this, is that when Rabbi Nachman talks about, this is part of Rabbi Nachman's system. The tefillah is bechinat Eretz Yisrael, which is bechinat emunah, which is bechinat, right? Everything is a bechina. One is an aspect of another. And he builds you a system. So Rabbi Nachman, the Gra, both of them died. The system of Sukkot is that we say, according to the Kabbalah of the Ari, we say that the first day of Sukkot is Avraham, the second day is Yitzhak, the third day is Yaakov, the fourth day is Moshe, the fifth day is Aaron, and the sixth day is Yosef, and the seventh day is David. We call the seven shepherds. The Gra chose another historically, chronological system, Avram, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Yosef, Moshe, Aaron, David. So that Rabbi Nachman passed away on the fourth day, Moshe. The Gra, I'm pretty sure, passed away on the fourth day also, which was Yosef for him. I have to check. I'm not sure. Well, another connection is that on Mincha of Shabbat we say Tzidkatcha, 3 verses of Tzidkatcha. Tzidkatcha el mishpatecha tom rabah Adamu behema toshi Adonai. Tzidkatecha tzedek leolam b'torat chemet. Tzidkatecha. There's one I missed in the middle. And they say that these 3 verses are said for the 3 that died at Mincha of Shabbat, the last hours of Shabbat, David, Yosef, and Moshe. They all 3 died, and we say these 3 verses for them. So this system is something that reveals itself to you one by one, to put it together and know that you were born to be part of this system. This is an overriding cosmological system of the Torah that's not been revealed fully except by these great luminaries. And then even then, it took so much time. It makes us part of this incredible process. It makes what you do important. So bless you, bless all of us, bless all of Am Yisrael, that we don't have to see the calamities, that the awakening process should accelerate, and that we should not fight that heaven is totally impermeating and penetrating our lives and awakening us and beckoning us and arousing us to recognize its hand in our lives. It's the hand behind the glove. It's the hand of Hashem's mercy and Hashem's love. And as much as the pain is painful and the suffering is agonizing and excruciating, but there's one thing that can heal us, and that's Hashem's love and the reason behind everything, and that ultimately everything will be shown to have been completely from His love. It's hard to know now, but it will be revealed. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagenadi. Before that, we'll sing Hine Anochi Sholeach Lachem Eliyah Hanavi. Hine Anochi Sholeach Lachem Eliyah Hanavi. Na 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 na. Et Eliyah Hanavi. Na 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 na. Et Eliyah Hanavi. Lifnei Hayom Hashem Hagedol V'Hanora. Lifnei Hayom Hashem Hagedol V'Hanora. Na 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 na. Eliyah Hanavi. Ay la 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 la. Et Eliyah Hanavi. Ve'ishiv levavot al banim belev banim al avotam. Ve'ishiv levavot. You can sing, but al banim belev banim al avotam. La 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 la. Eliyah Hanavi. La 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 la. Eliyah Hanavi. Lev Avot Albanim, that the Lev Avot, the heart of the ancestors, will be returned to the children, that's us, and then we, the children, will leishiv the Lev Avot Albanim, and will return the heart of the Lev Banim Alavotam will return our parents and our the older generation, who are hardened, who have given up. No, our souls have come into this world in order to revive this. We are this spirit. That's what we came in for. Then there's another tune. Galei kevod malchutcha aleinu bimhera beyameinu. We feel, right, the kavod of your malchut soon in our days. Part the veil. Galei kevod malchutcha aleinu bimhera ותהה ליבנו לעובדך באמת. I'm in the middle. I need to get in the middle. ותגלה כבוד מלכותך עלינו במהרה בימינו. Together, if you can, גלה כבוד מלכותך עלינו במהרה בימינו. ותהה ליבנו לעובדך באמת, ותהה ליבנו לעובדך באמת. תהה ליבנו לעובדך באמת. Be up for our hearts to serve you in truth, because the inner transformation has to be there, and then the outer revelation will come. ותהה ליבנו לעובדך באמת. אמת na 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 ah na 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 oh la la na na oh na 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 ah na 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 Take not as good a rendition as we do in my Shabbat table, but it's an important thing to ask. And really, I'm asking you, like, if you want more of this, I guess next year. So that's what it's going to be. Bezat Hashem, it'll come before. Remember the end of the last set, we showed that Tafshin Ein Chet is the gematria Be'ita Chishena. So even though I really always warn to get involved in dates, not where it's at, but this is a very interesting thing. And that the backwards, you go to the other end of the alphabet for each of these letters, you get this, which is a meaningless bunch of letters, but its gematria is 999. So this is, again, tells us, this is in the Kolator. It tells us that there were those who came before us, who thought about these things, who gave their lives to these things. The Gra's Talmidim came to Eretz Yisrael because the Gra told them, get there before 1840. The Baal Shem Tov's Hasidim came to Eretz Yisrael because the Baal Shem Tov, independently of the Gra, said, get there before 1840. And they all came, and they came to the four holy cities, to Tzfat, Tiberia, Yerushalayim, and Hebron, and they established the Yishuv. They were all Messianic, right? Messianic, wanting to bring Mashiach into the world, right? So their story has really not been told. It's not told, not spoken about too much. Who are they? Why did they? What they went through in Petach Tikva? They cleaned the swamps. They died, but they established the city. Why do they call it Petach Tikva? Because it's called the opening of hope. Because we came here to open up the doors of hope. So it's always important to honor those who came before us in everything we do. They're the channels through which we're receiving everything we have. They're the greater souls of which we are sparks. And it's a pyramid. It goes all the way up to one great soul that encompasses all of us. And then the breakdown into billions of us. And why did Hashem want billions of souls? Because he wanted each one of us to have the ability to live eternally. So that's my talk. That's what I gift to you. That's what has been gifted to me. I love you. And thank you. Thank Hashem. Please, we'll meet again.
Okay. Could I just ask one thing and point out one thing?
Yes, Avraham brought something.
Yeah, this is just a thing. Anybody take a copy, made copies of it. It's a thing I came across this last Shabbos, and it's really saying how Ahavas Yisrael is living the era that we're in now, the coming of the redemption. It's a foretaste of the redemption. So if anybody wants a copy, just forget what's on the back. A little thing I would like to ask Rav Avraham, do you think there's any chance that we can get together, if not here, somewhere else, before whatever it was, it's a long gap between now and then.
Well, you're all invited to my house, and as I said, anybody who wants what the source for where tonight's teaching came from, please write to me, avraham.sutton@icloud.com, avraham.sutton@icloud.com, because that's I didn't write it for myself. Eventually, it'll be published, but between now and publishing,
Is the cloud part of
the iCloud? Yes, iCloud.
Not by a donkey, by a cloud.
Can I just say something? I really thank God. When I've been able to come, I've been coming to class for quite a while. I really want to thank Rav Avraham because he's sharing teachings here that have to be shared, and no one else is sharing them. Pretty much, almost no one is sharing them, and it gives me a lot of hope. And it's so beautiful to have a room filled like this with people who want this, and the light dispel much darkness. So whatever's happening out there in the world, thank God, we have little oases like this where beautiful things are happening. And I just want to thank Rav Avraham. I know that a tremendous amount of, we just sit here and we receive, but it's clear there's a gigantic amount of really great devotional energy goes into this. I say devotional because it's not just something that he offers us, but it's like I really feel like as he's doing this, it's like it's a devotion. It's like you really have to be devoted to this. And also for me, the greatest thing is that you make yourself very vulnerable, and I love that. I really love the fact that Torah teachers like yourself who. You do that sometimes. You just stop and say, "Look, I'm going on." I don't know. I'm not really, I don't know if I'm actually being so very clear, and that's so beautiful. And I should carry on doing that. But I really feel it's come from a very real place. Thank you.
I think the generosity of spirit that you show, there's so many years of work has gone into what we receive here in a flash. Your generosity of spirit is appreciated.
Well, with everybody who wants to share and who's passionate and everything. So I don't want to talk to the wall. I don't want to talk to people as if they're just my. I want real interaction. I want real relationship. I believe that encountering each other on the deepest level is where Torah really is at. So it means so much to me that we can do this. The best maybe would be another format completely, a Shabbaton and things that we could do together just to really meet each other in deeper and deeper ways. And I don't know. We used to have, once in a while, Shabbatons and stuff. I'm not a good organizer of things, but I certainly would be open and excited to be part of something that all of us could participate in. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi. And last year was that 705 people that